Get a chair. When I was 5 years old, I was playing outside and I started playing with a neighbor's cat. This slender, rangia thawed, beautiful woman with glasses walks up to me and tells me, and I didn't understand anything because I couldn't speak English back then. And then she said in Swahili, "Where are your parents?" And I told her they were at work. And she invited me in her house. And because I had no concept of stranger danger, I followed. We went to her house and she did this witchcraft ritual that bound me to her for the rest of my life. She gave me quencha, lemon, the green one, and she made popcorn. The smell of popcorn still reminds me of her. And she put Ice Age on the TV for me. I was in love. Would you have left that house if you were me? So I was just joining primary school, and I joined Wangigi Primary School for class 1 and 2. I topped my class for those 2 years. What I remember is my English was so bad, I had my class teacher's accent. Her name was Mrs. Nyoro. She would say milk and shout, and that's how I used to speak. So they took me to a private school. I thank New Generation because it is what gave me my oratory skills, my diction. I know my accent is not all that, but you can't wash the Kenyan away from me. And it was years later that I found out that it was actually my Tata Shina, my Ice Age showing, popcorn making, quencha lemon giving Auntie Shina that educated me through primary school. Episode 753, My Childhood Memories.
She was to shave us all our hair. This church believes that, which she did, so I'm no longer Aaron. She makes money, but the money goes to the church.
Oh.
And then now she decides to hand over her 2 daughters to the church. We get evicted from Gara, that single house. The man my mother was cohabiting with disappears.
Bonnie was filled by very many systems. The first one being religion. Religion failed him because it took his mom away from him. So I empathized with him on that. The second system that I feel failed Bonnie was the education system.
Chule.
You are a menace.
All the teachers, apart from Mr. Moneki. Mr. Moneki was my English teacher. And all the teachers said, they did not teach me.
What is it about you? What were you doing? You are, when you say kichwa ngumu, explain to me.
Nilikuwa tu mrui, nilikuwa tu na ile uru ya mtatu, ile you're just misbehaving. You don't know better.
There's a quote that says that a teacher influences eternity because there is no telling the lengths to which their influence can go. Me and my best friend were the Sunday school teachers for a ministry for a long time. And I handled the toddler class and she handled the preteen class. And most times our classes would merge. In her class, there was a boy, let's call him Michael, who would have bursts of anger and walk out of class. And he would like bang the door, just show an attitude. And while we were discussing it with her, we came to the conclusion that she was just going to show this boy love. That she doesn't understand the motivation behind him acting the way he's acting, but she's just going to show him love. And how do we do that? Speaking gently, giving him grace, giving him room, showing the fact that you're not the enemy. And I kid you not, this boy went from having bursts of anger, throwing fits, to we could see the effort that he was making to now restrain himself. He'd get to a place where he'd actually cry because of how angry he was. And finally, to being the teacher's pet. And I don't mean to a place of sucking up, but he was genuinely the most interested. We gave an assignment to our kids that they should memorize Psalm 90. He memorized all 16 verses of Psalm 91, rather, not 90. All 16 verses of Psalm 91. The second person memorized 14, and only 2 of them made an effort. The rest just triggered verse 1. And all we did was just show that boy love. In my class, there was a boy, let's call him Chris. Chris was 5 years old, extremely energetic. I mean, you could just shake him up and he would go from earth to heaven like a rocket. Needless to say, he was not an easy boy to control, and not like negative control, manipulate, but have his mind in the class, have him in the system. We're doing this now, that we're going this way. So it was easy to tag him as a notorious boy. And in all honesty, there were many occasions where he was actually being naughty. I am overwhelmed by the labor. I am angry that he's intentionally being naughty. And while I was about to go and call him out, the Lord called me back. He held me in my tracks and he told me, don't label him, call him up. And what he was telling me, because I wanted to tell him, Chris, you're a bad boy. And what the Lord instructed me to tell him is, Chris, you're a good boy, but why are you acting bad? I may never get to see the fruits of my labor, but I know somewhere in their lives, these children will be remembering there was a teacher, Meg. There is no telling the extent to which the influence of a teacher goes. Why did I start with the story of my aunt? Because my aunt wasn't a teacher in the classroom, but she became the first influencer for me. She was a teacher in life. I saw people around me crocheting all the time. I came across videos on the internet of people crocheting. I couldn't care less. Like, it doesn't matter how intricate the dress looks. I just look at it and I'm like, okay. Until I just saw my aunt making a bag real time, and I looked at her and I'm like, I want to learn this thing. Then another time we went snorkeling and I couldn't swim, so they put me in a ring floater. We got to the middle of the water. They didn't want the current to carry us away, the tide to carry us away, so they tied the ring floater to a rock in the reef, and they went to look for sea urchins so that they can feed the fish, so that the fish can gather around us so we can see the fish. And that state of being packed in the water and realizing how complex the laws of physics are, like my aunt is behind me and she's like, Shiro, come see. Then I'm trying to turn and I can't turn because I feel you can't turn in water like this the way you turn on land like this. I can't just do this, and just trying to do this and getting a crazy muscle. I was so humbled by that water. And then I'm looking at my auntie and she's living her best mermaid life, like, woo, under the sea, under the sea. Namuku drowning, closing my eyes because I can't handle the saltiness of the water and whatnot. And I was like, you know what? I am going to learn how to swim. The two things that I've made part of my primary focus this year, I got from the same woman who gave me Ice Age popcorn and juice. So I am telling you this. It goes beyond having a teacher in the classroom. You can have a teacher in life. If there was a person around Bonnie who was the opposite of what our society is becoming, he would have had probably a different childhood. Working with kids, I've come to understand their psychology. Do you know how much a kid values having a friendship with an adult? You don't know how much children look up to you. Share a word. Toka na mpira, cheza na watoto hapo nje. Yani, and you don't have to invite children to your house. Things have become crazy nowadays. But there is a lot you can do to spread that light, even in a way that it doesn't cost you. Decades later, my auntie can see the fruits of her work. And I, in turn, am doing it with countless children, from nieces and nephews to children I've actually had the privilege of working with in the context of a classroom. And we keep that light shining and that ripple effect going on. So a little can go a long way, and you don't know what your presence, your words of wisdom, just you showing up for somebody else, you don't know how far that can take somebody and how much that can alter the course of their destiny. So please show up.
Do you think the lack of a father figure was causing you to be... I'm not hearing you mention any man in this story. The men who are there are coming and leaving.
Yeah. So there's no stability. There could be an overall emphasis about men in parenting and all that. Mm-hmm. But sometimes people are not single by choice. But it doesn't have to say there are two people in that house. Just one person who is stable and sane enough. Because there's a lot of incredible human beings raised by single dads or single mothers.
I agree.
So I don't think the lack of father was the biggest problem.
It was the lack of
stability,
constant presence.
Yes.
For you. You are too much independence at too much of a young age.
Yeah, there's guaranteed meals at home. There's guaranteed love. My mother is present. My mother is not so focused on going to heaven and pleasing the pastors.
I get it.
That she's not present in my life.